What's up, everyone? Back again for another episode of One and Done here with Zeke. How's it going, man?
Yo, no, it's going great.
All right, for today, we'll talk about some of the new stuff that Bandai announced, specifically the Unison series and what that sort of means moving forward. So, basically, for those of you that haven't yet heard or haven't seen the trailer, basically, Bandai had announced some of the new upcoming product coming out, and specifically a new block. So, obviously, the block that we're in right now, up to set 9, is Infinite Unity, and that includes the latest Universal Onslaught set that we all know about. And then the next set that's coming out is starting a new block called Unison Warrior. And they've announced that the very first set, which is going to be set 10 for the new series, is going to be called Rise of the Unison Warrior. So obviously, this huge theme around Unison is being introduced. And so I thought it might be fun to sort of talk about what this kind of means for the game, what it means meta-wise, potentially collectability, and how that's going to affect things. So yeah, let's just get started on that. Zeke, obviously you are much more familiar with the mechanics of the game and all that fun stuff. So what are your thoughts about this new announcement?
I think it's really cool. There's a lot of things I like. There's a lot of things I'm curious about. There's a lot of things that I'm slightly concerned about. But I think overall, it's a really good positive thing that Bandai just has such a good long term plan. Like in the video, they show that they have product already scheduled through the beginning of next year. So that's like it's great that they have a really good like long term plan. It shows definitely stability in the product. It shows stability in their brand of what they're doing. As a player, it's super exciting to just see more new mechanics that are inspired from other games. They've adapted a lot of similar game mechanics from Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and other games as well. And I think it's really cool that they.
Yeah, I've actually seen some people mention that the common one that that I've been seeing for this particular unison concept is Planewalker from Magic. I don't
Oh
know
my
if you
god,
agree, but
you sound so much like somebody from the outside in. Yes,
I know.
Planeswalkers are pretty much similar to the Unison mechanic. There's a lot of differences, but there's a lot of similarities that so Planeswalkers is a similar comparison. There's just a lot of um, there's just so much that to take in, but I think overall it's a good thing. As a player, the game isn't speeding up. It's just introducing a lot more value cards because the thing is, they're introducing the one thing I like about Dragon Ball is that in similar to Pokemon, there's no such thing as infinite loops. There's never ending combos in Pokemon, but they're very slow and you can interrupt them and things like that. Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh are infamous for having infinite loops and mechanics that just completely destroy interaction with your opponent. And I think Dragon Ball's done a really good job of maintaining interaction and not having loops. And I think that's something that's really cool that they've done in this game is that they've done a really good job of maintaining that and the unison mechanic and being introduced and seeing all the new cards coming out between now and June just further makes me feel like they're doing a really good job in balancing the game and not so much just making just more broken stuff, more broken stuff, more broken stuff. So I'm pretty excited. As somebody who
What do
sells
you
product too, is it's
what do
just
you what do you what do you think about the some of the people saying that the product is still coming out too much too fast?
um I think it just feels that way because the community isn't that big. But if you look at Magic releases product every like 2-3 months. You know, um, Pokemon's about the same way. Yu-Gi-Oh is about the same way. Um, Core sets there's 4 a year, and then there's a bunch of other like minuscule product in between. I mean, I think it just comes down to because the community isn't big enough. Most people only play the game once a week, and because you're only playing once a week, you only get to play the game 12 to 16 times before something comes out. And in all honesty, it doesn't sound like a lot. But if you play like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh, when I played Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day, very competitive. I played Yu-Gi-Oh like 3-4 times a week, you know. So for me, when the new stuff came out, it wouldn't come out fast enough because I got so tired of playing what I was playing. Cause I play, multiply times like in 12 weeks, you're playing 36, 40 times before new
Yeah,
stuff
that
comes out.
that kind of adds up for sure.
It does, and I think as the game decides to get bigger and bigger and bigger, I think there's gonna be a lot. Um, there's gonna be a lot of. It's just a new game, and people are adapting it and learning from it, and yes, there in the beginning there's a little bit too much of an influx of product, but as things have stabilized now, I think it's fine. I wish they would space things out a little bit more, so like new stuff would consistently come out every 8 weeks, whether it's a full set and or a side product. That's my only small complaint is terms like spacing. Like there was a huge gap between set 9 and the Surge decks or the Surge expansion. Like there was a nice 3.5 month gap between that, so that was nice. But then like from set 9 to Draft Box 5, there's only like a 6 week gap. So like that's kind of where I don't think so much it's too much product. I think spacing just needs to be improved more than anything.
Yeah, I mean, I know for sure. Like before, it used to be something that was complained about a lot because I think sets were coming out even more than once per quarter, and I think that's something that Bandai kind of decided to listen to, and now it's closer to one per quarter, which,
Hmm.
like you said, is very similar to the other card games. So yeah, I agree. I don't think there's too much too fast anymore. It may have been a problem earlier in the days that Dragon Ball Super started, but I mean, I think now it's kind of fine. We have actually part of the trailer that they just released towards the end was like a nice little table that shows the upcoming schedule release of stuff, and so um, yeah, to me personally, I think it's fine. I don't feel like it's too much too fast. I think part of it might be that Bandai tends to be more transparent early on in their release cycle, so you know like up to 6 months in advance what's coming down the pipeline. Whereas with some of the other card games, it doesn't feel like they're that ahead of letting you know. So maybe having all of that knowledge earlier makes it feel like there's more coming because you know about all of it. But if anything, I'd say that's a good thing because it helps you prepare financially, helps you think about what you want to save up for, what you want to go after. Um, yeah, I don't know how you feel, but that's kind of my take on it.
No, I agree. I think there's definitely a lot of things that Bandai has improved and worked on, and it's good to be transparent. It's good to see things coming. I just think that there's a lot of growing pains. I remember a year ago the game was in a much more fragile state than people realized, and we've passed that, and now the game is definitely in a place where I am comfortable in buying and reselling sealed product and investing in the game, like and playing the game. Like I've been playing card games for 16 years now, and it's like I've seen a lot come and go, and Dragon Ball has a huge potential to rival the big three. Like Dragon Ball is the only one that's like truly like, oh, like this is an actual competitor. Magic, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh aren't worried about Dragon Ball, but they're definitely aware. It's not like Force of Will or Y Shorts or Vanguard or all these other games that have come and have definitely minimized and they're just small. Um, Definitely different. What's the word I want to use? They're definitely just different categories of games, and Dragon Ball is like in that high tier two. Tier one being the big three, and Magic being on top of the big three, Pokemon being second, Yu-Gi-Oh being third. I think Dragon Ball is at the top of tier two. When you're having I mean, I can't think. Like I play a bunch of other games, and there's no other game, that has an attendance of 400 people at a regional, 250 at a private event. No other game outside of the big three can do that. You know what I mean? So like, I think that you can never make people happy. I played Yu-Gi-Oh. People bitched about Yu-Gi-Oh all the time, and you know what? You know what Yu-Gi-Oh did? They did the same thing, and they've been doing the same thing the last 8 years. They have the best formula ever for product for players. You ban all the stupid shit in the spring, release more broken shit at the end of spring. You have a summer of broken expensive shit. The fall comes. They reprint all of the broken expensive shit in the fall. And then they ban all the broken expensive shit in the spring. And the cycle repeats itself over and over and over again. It's been like this for 8 years. Maybe even longer. Hold on. No, it's been even longer.
Let's talk about some high school economics here. If I recall correctly, I think the term is called elasticity. So the idea being that there are certain things that no matter the price, people will still pay for.
Right.
I think one of the common examples was like gas or like food. So you kind of feel like Yu-Gi-Oh is so confident with their product and following and fans that they're like, you know what, we'll just keep doing it this way, and you guys will still buy our stuff, so we're not really worried.
Correct. And I think Dragon Ball has accomplished. I mean, Magic's gone through that so many times where people are like, oh, the game's gonna die. They're doing stupid things and all this and that. Like people thought the game was gonna die when Planeswalkers were introduced. You know. So I think. I think with Dragon Ball, the complaining comes off a little bit more intimidating because people are either picking it up as their second game and or abandoning their primary game for it. So with it being a new game, the criticism it gets definitely is more harming than the criticism Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon get.
Well, it's funny because we talked about like how a lot of the players in Dragon Ball come from Yu-Gi-Oh. So if anything, you think that they're used to card games that mess up.
Right, they are, but the thing that makes Yu-Gi-Oh tolerable, and Dragon Ball for a long time was not tolerable, is that the Dragon Ball is too cheap. So
Too cheap or too expensive? I feel like a lot of people complain about it being too much to afford.
Dragon Ball now?
That's what I feel like. I mean, look at Draftbox 4 and how upset people were about the prices for that.
But that's the thing though. I think people were so used to. I mean, we can make a whole video about like the economic history of Dragon Ball. That's a whole video.
You and I have been around where like there used to be cards that were like even crazier expensive in the early days, but generally it does feel like a lot of people do complain about prices. But I guess it's both. There are some people that complain that, man, this card game's way too cheap, I can never make any money off of it, and there are people that complain, man, certain cards are so expensive, I can never get them to use in my deck.
I guess
it's both.
You right, and the thing is, you get that in every game, every single game. The thing is with Dragon Ball being so new, those kind of criticism and complaints have more weight to them because right now we're in the process of growing a community, and those kind of criticism and complaints are detractors from being part of that community. Nobody will ever doubt Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, or Magic. People hear all these horrible things. They still play the game because they know that the games are 20 years old. They're established. They're like people complain about like logistics at this point, but their complaints aren't about stability of the game. With Dragon Ball, there is a point of value when it comes to stability. And with the game being so new, you know, seeing games like.
Do you think we've crossed that hump of like people being worried about the longevity of the game? Because I know that used to be a big thing in the early days where people are like, don't get into this game, it's not going to be around for a long time. Dragon Ball has a history of killing games after a few years. Do you feel like we've crossed that bridge now, and it's kind of like, let's look at the future and like what else we can bring to this game and keep it going versus, guys, don't get in, this thing's going to die?
I think after Worlds, we'll officially be through the hump. I think right now we're in the middle of that hump. We're definitely starting to get over that hump. And I think after Worlds this year, I think the hump will be over. Because the thing is, they're investing so much into like an app where you can track your points. They're multi-international releases. Like it took a long time for other games to reach an international level. And this is the thing. We have cards in French, cards in Italian, and cards in English. Like, we have multilinguistic cards. I don't think a lot of games have that reach where the game is popular enough where they're willing to print a whole different set of language cards for another region. Like now, I think people underestimate like those huge triumphant accomplishments, and I think they're swept under the rug, and people just complain about, oh, this card is $50. It shouldn't be worth $50. I'm like, dude, like go play a competitive card game in any of them, and the average cost of a deck that's competitive is $400 to $500. That's just being competitive and playing competitively. Like that's everything, you know. Um,
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, Bandai's definitely been putting their money where their mouth is. I mean, look at the quality of the cards and how amazing they look compared to some of the other modern cards out there. Even you told me before, like how well Bandai treats the judges that they have come to their events too, right? And
oh
how
yeah, no,
different
Bandai
that is from
does.
the other card games.
Bandai does a really good job. I think they're in the business right now to just keep developing this, and I think there's so much that's. I just think people need to just recognize that there's way more good than bad in Dragon Ball, and I
Oh,
think
absolutely. Yeah.
and to everybody who doubts the game, I mean, it's
I mean, it
fine.
definitely doesn't feel like, at least from my perspective, I feel like there aren't as many people talking about the potential of it dying like there used to be.
Oh no, that conversation has definitely died down.
Yeah, it feels like
Um,
that's died down. A lot more of it now is around prices. Things are either too cheap or too expensive, or product keeps coming out too fast. It almost feels like those are the main things that people complain about these days. But at least that whole thing about don't get into it because it's not going to be around, that seems to have died down, which is great because that got really frustrating and annoying. And it's like, dude, why are you in this group if you don't think it's going to be around? So,
yeah, no, 100%, and I think now that the game is finally like in such a
I
good
mean, yeah,
spot.
look. I mean, 3 years in and we're already doing a Worlds. I totally agree. I think it's made a ton of progress in a short amount of time.
Oh, 100%. That's why I'm like
Yeah.
super.
Yeah, and they're constantly bringing in new mechanics, new concepts, new characters, new universes. Um, yeah, it's definitely been awesome to see Bandai's push in making this card game a serious contender to the other big three. So, yeah, I mean, is there anything else you wanted to add on the Unison announcement?
Um, Gogeta secret rare, SS4 Gogeta secret rare. I'm super
Is
excited
that for
about.
sure? Is that confirmed?
Confirmed. I even have the card art. It's in the video. I don't know if you paid attention.
Oh, I probably missed that part then. So they've already actually announced the secret before any of the other cards in the set. That must be a new thing then, because I don't think they've done that in the past.
So they revealed the card art, but they blanked out the text. So from a collector's perspective, you can see the card as a collector.
Gotcha.
But
Yeah,
as a
yeah. I
player,
mean, technically not any of the foiling or texturing, but just the concept itself, right?
yeah. Let me see if I can pull up the picture for you. It looks pretty cool. He's doing, from what it looks like, he's doing a Big Bang Kamehameha. And it
Nice.
looks pretty damn pretty. Like it's oof.
Do we know the name of it or just a picture?
Just a picture. Let me see if I if I screenshotted it already. Cause I'm pretty good at like taking screenshots out of the video because I have such a big player base that people play.
Yeah, we'll probably include it in the art for the podcast so people can see what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I like it a lot. It's it's just nice. I'm more excited than anything. They're changing a couple of rules as well in the game, which is really gonna be beneficial. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff coming up. I mean, is there anything that you're excited about more than anything, Mike?
I'd say definitely the special anniversary announcement's pretty cool. I can't wait to see which cards they're going to reprint, which cards are going to be new, what's the unique leader that they're going to introduce this time around. If people remember, last year's anniversary was what's her name? I'm blanking on the name. Toa. And so, they're going to keep that tradition with this year's anniversary, so really excited to see who they choose for that character. But yeah, generally speaking, can't wait to see the anniversary stuff that comes out. Those tend to be limited print runs, as you all know. At least last year's was, so I'm going to assume this year's is too. So from a collectability standpoint, that's always exciting. Yeah, and then with the Unison stuff, definitely I think adding more mechanics is great for the game. And borrowing concepts from other established games is always a good thing. Tried and true concepts that have worked in the past. So yeah, definitely excited for everything that's coming down the pipeline. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, Zeke. Unless there's anything else you wanted to add to this. Nope, guess not. All right. Thanks again, all, for listening to tonight's episode. And yeah, talk to you guys next time.